What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Once again, we are back with career mode, this time for the Hungarian Grand Prix. You can see the point standings right there, pretty ominous to the drivers behind Raikkonen, 28 points, Sebastian Vettel even further. It's absolutely outrageous. But coming into this episode, we got the major drag reduction upgrade applied to the car, and we also got a sponsor bonus. But unfortunately, when I went ahead to record practice and everything, I wasn't recording the first part of practice and the start of the weekend. I often do that sometimes, and I just forgot about the upgrade, and then the sponsor bonus came in, and I was like, oh, wow, that's actually really sweet. So, we got a 750 point boost from our sponsors, so, once again, that's going to put us, really close towards getting another major upgrade, or maybe even an ultimate, upgrade, and I think I might delve that, towards the drag reduction once again, because anytime you have an opportunity to get an ultimate upgrade, it makes such a difference on the performance of your car. So I think I might go for that again, and it might come into effect around, I don't know, Mexico, USA, depending if we can get enough points in this episode, which I'm hoping to today. But here we are in qualifying for the Hungarian Grand Prix. You know, pace-wise, we were okay. We were actually slower than Fernando throughout the whole of this weekend. Fernando was actually topping practice. I don't know if you saw in P2. But, yeah, his pace was outrageous. And I was in P2, and I couldn't, like, get the practice program passed for the qualifying pace. Even though I got P2, I was just too slow for some reason. It was really, really annoying. So, yeah, I felt like I was just constantly behind the 8 ball when it came to my teammate. Maybe McLaren switched the cars between the two of us. That's what I was feeling like in this session, as Fernando goes top in qualifying too, and we only just squeeze in ourselves. So it's absolutely outrageous. The drag reduction upgrade has definitely worked on Fernando's car. It also helps as well that this track isn't really reliant on, you know, straight line speed, which obviously helps Fernando be more competitive. He was very fast here last season as well, so great to see that he's actually on the pace for once. But as we head into qualifying 3, the track finally dried up, and I rated my chances more in the dry than what I did in the wet, because I don't know, I just didn't have the confidence. I think I really need to look into wet weather setups, because I really seem to just struggle when it comes to you know, changeable conditions. I didn't struggle in Canada, but apart from that, every other racetrack it rains, I just feel like I'm just not on the pace. But speaking of being on the pace, P1 at the end of that qualifying set, well, in the first run of qualifying 3, we are provisionally on pole position, and I was weaving the wheel because I was so happy. Like I said, I was behind the 8 ball the whole weekend. The pace was not great, constantly being outshined by my teammate, and finally we get a representative time in with an 18.2. But I feel like the marker is going to be continuously moved forward in this session, because the track is still kind of drying up. It was still fairly slippery in the first run. The second run that I did on the second lap that I did on the first one was actually quite good. And yeah, as you can see now, the AI complete their final laps in qualifying, and they're in the 17s, the 16s, and yeah, I was seeing that flash up on the screen while I was actually doing the hot lap at this stage, and I was trying not to get distracted or anything like that. We're constantly falling down the order. We've actually dropped to 10th, so we've gone from 3rd place provisionally now down to 10th, but thankfully enough for us, we're up by 1.7 seconds as we head into this 3rd sector. So yeah, let's continue to find time if we can. We're going to be the last one across the line, so in theory we're going to be the guy who gets, you know, the best of the track conditions. So we'll see what we can do as we come up to the line, open the DRS, and up to the line. It is only 8th place. Wow, okay. So, despite setting a time, 30 seconds, 40 seconds after the rest of the field have set their times, we weren't able to make the most of that, and it's only 8th place. 9.5 tenths away from pole position. Fernando gets P5, I think it was, so he was pretty much best of the rest, you know, ahead of the Red Bulls. So, I mean, good for him. Hopefully he doesn't have any, you know, reliability issues in this Grand Prix like he did last season, and we can get some really good constructors points. I'm not too worried about my, you know, starting position for the race. I know I can make up the time, but Fernando, he's the guy who always lacks straight line speed and always gets overtaken, and, you know, can't really show his pace because he's stuck behind other people who are slower in corners. So, yeah, fingers crossed Fernando can do well today. We're going to chuck some fresher components in the power unit today. We were kind of running on components that were getting towards the end of their useful life. They were all in the high 40% range, and whenever it goes to 50% for any of your components, that's when you really start to see a considerable drop-off. So, yeah, we're really getting into our, like, power unit mix now. We're going to have to take a 7th one at some stage. It might come in the next Grand Prix in Spa, or it might even come at Italy, where overtaking is pretty darn easy. We'll have to wait and see, though. But, yeah, the aim is to hopefully get that ultimate drag reduction upgrade on the car at the end of this episode. So hopefully we can do well in the race and get enough resource points for that. Let's see how we do.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Kimi Raikkonen's perfect lap yesterday sees him start from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Bottas, Daniel Ricciardo, and a McLaren, Perez, Hülkenberg, Kvyat, and Fernando Alonso.
Embarrassing, really embarrassing.
We're higher on the grid than we expected. Let's see if we can do even better.
I wonder why that is. We are starting higher up the grid. Welcome, guys, to the Hungarian Grand Prix. When I, was looking at that, announcement to the grid, I was like, where's Fernando? Where is he? It could have been worse. It could have been a whole lot worse, but 10th place. Again, he's kind of starting where he normally does, maybe a little bit higher than usual, but still. He comes to a racetrack where he was topping sessions. He's topped more than one session this weekend, and he finds himself in 10th place due to some kind, I think it's a gearbox penalty. But, yeah, really annoying. But for us, though, I mean, it helps us. We went from starting P8 to now P6. I think Max Verstappen got a penalty as well, which promoted us up the order. So, for this race, we're going to be starting on the soft compound tyres. We have the option of going to a 2-stop, or we could just divert down the path of doing the 1-stop as well. It is ultimately down to us. So we'll see how we go for the start of this race. The Hungarian Grand Prix, 5 red lights for the halfway point of this season, and we are underway here in Hungary. Looks like an okay start up against Daniel Ricciardo. Actually, the second phase of that start was much better than the Red Bulls, and we smashed past him. We could even get Sebastian Vettel as well as we head into turn 1. We'll get up the inside of the Mercedes. That is P3, potentially P4, depending on how well of an exit Sebastian Vettel gets, but no, he didn't really have the space to really do anything there, and he drops into P4. So Bottas, massive loser out of all of that start. I think he was starting third, and now he drops to, I don't know, P5 or maybe even P6. Hopefully Alonso got off to a good start as well, though I don't really rate his chances due to the slow straight line speed he has. Like, the starts are ultimately down to getting a good start, and also like how much straight line speed you have on the run into turn 1. Fernando always loses out. But as we settle into the Grand Prix now, we're pretty much on kind of level pegging with those around us. Maybe slightly slower than Kimi Raikkonen, but Lewis Hamilton, though, it looks like we are pretty much bang on even in terms of pace. At least in the first few laps of this opening stint, we're really pushing on here, running in rich revs, on the start finish straight, and then kind of running in standard through the middle sector, and then towards the third sector, we chuck it back up into rich, and we're going purple through the first sector, and that's pretty much all I can really do as I start to get in the dirty air of Lewis Hamilton. It does hamper me a little bit through the middle sector, but overall, I didn't feel like I was losing too much time stuck behind him. I was really I was going flat out, honestly, just doing everything I could to stay with him, and I think towards the end of this stint here, Lewis was starting to pull away himself. We got DRS, which definitely made things easier, but after that, we kind of just hit a wall. Like, we couldn't get any closer to Lewis. I think the closest we got to him was like half a second away, which is probably where we're at right now. But as you can see here on lap 9, this is the point where Lewis, I believe, turns the wick up, and because I was going flat out, I had absolutely nothing to respond to him with, and unfortunately he got out of DRS. He pretty much got away, and he started chasing down Kimi Raikkonen for the lead of the race. So that was, I'm not going to lie, that was really, really demoralizing for the rest of the race.
Fernando's currently in P8. Okay, distance to teammate, 15.0 seconds. They're on old super softs. The time last lap was a 1:22.2.
So Alonso is holding down, I think, P8, Jeff said. So not too bad. He's found a couple of positions off the start, but you know, going back to my race, Valtteri Bottas has overtaken Vettel, or Vettel's made a pit stop. I'm not entirely sure, but you guys don't understand like how much I was pushing in that opening stint. I was driving perfectly. I mean, pinpoint accuracy, you know, full commitment through the fast left-hander in the middle sector. Valtteri's going up my inside here. I'm not really concerned about that. We should be able to hold on to the position. Fernando's in the pits as well, but yeah, I was nailing every lap, and you know, I could have ran rich revs a little bit more, but I didn't want to, you know, be wasteful with my fuel. But I felt like I was getting the most out of the car, and when I saw that Lewis Hamilton just had an extra gear that he could step up into and just pull away, like that just completely, that ruined me. I had nothing to really respond to, and I think if anything, once Lewis pulled away, that really like affected my pace. I just started slowing down, and you can see we're under attack from Valtteri Bottas here. So yeah, it was an interesting part of the race. I knew from that moment that I wasn't going to win. It was just down to trying to be consistent and actually just trying to hold on to the podium, which I, you know, had much higher hopes of doing. I was hoping to go for at least second, maybe even the win today. But yeah, it just shows that we're still not quite there as a top team. We still need to work on the chassis a little bit, but mainly the aero, especially when it comes to tracks like this. We seem to just lose out a little bit, and yeah, that's ultimately what I'm going to be trying to do for the, you know, foreseeable future for the rest of this season. But we're into the pits now on lap 17, so we've gone halfway through this Grand Prix just about, and we are going to go to the one stop. We're going to fit on the medium tyres and go to the end. I kind of realised by like lap 10 that the one stop was probably the way to go. I don't feel like the guys who are doing two stops could really make up that much ground, especially if they get caught up in traffic. I believe Kimi Räikkönen and also Sebastian Vettel are doing two stops, so we'll see what we can do. I fancy my chances against Sebastian, but Kimi Räikkönen in clear air, he's already ahead of me and punching in awesome laps. Sebastian, though, because he's rejoined behind me, it's going to be much harder for him to, well, one, overtake me and then build the gap and get a pit stops lead over me for the rest of this race, and then ultimately try and overtake me. I think it's going to be a very tough ask for him. So the longer we can keep him behind us, the more it's going to benefit our race in trying to finish on the podium in today's Hungarian Grand Prix. But as you can see here, lap 21, we run in a little bit deep to the fast right-hander, and Sebastian just slots in really nicely up the inside there. We go side by side into the chicane, and yeah, pretty much had to mount the curb there to make sure that we didn't make contact there, because it was really tight, and I knew that if I took up too much space, or if I didn't, you know, mount the curb, I think there would have been contact, as you can see here from the replay. Sebastian left too much space, and he was actually turning to the right for a really long time. We'll slow it down here as we get to the apex. He just, yeah, turns right here and just leaves way too much space. And I think in the process, he might have got overtaken by Valtteri Bottas. He did, and we cut on to the next lap. This is Valtteri under pressure from Sebastian. He makes an unforced error, and yeah, he worked so hard to get that position, and he just throws it away instantly. So bit of the old Valtteri bottle there. Nice pun. On lap 21, I think it was, 22, but yeah, either way, it's pretty much business as usual once again with Sebastian Vettel right behind. He's actually diving in for his final pit stop now, so yeah, I hazard a guess to say that Sebastian is going to be really hard pressed to really close us up in the dying laps. He will be fitting on the super soft tyres again, I believe, but it is actually set to rain towards the end of the Grand Prix. I think it might be 10-15 minutes away, so Sebastian's pit stop, I don't know, may well be a waste, depending on how early this kind of rain hits us for this Grand Prix. Raikkonen has also come in. There's a safety car deployed as well. I think Daniel Kvyat is out of the Grand Prix. He pulled his car up in the third sector here as we're coming up to it now. And yeah, it was, I don't feel like it was a very dangerous position, but the stewards felt like the safety car was needed in the end.
Okay, we don't think we're far away from some rain. I'll keep you updated as the conditions change.
So there's that rain that we were talking about a little earlier. I feel like it's coming a little too late in the Grand Prix now. I feel like, I don't know, it's going to have to start raining really heavily right about now before we have to think about switching to the intermediate tyres. But yeah, I'm not going to lie, it was also very tempting as well to potentially dive into the pits and fit a set of intermediate tyres, but I tell you, that strategy would be really, really risky.
Pass the car ahead. We are authorised to take the position from the car ahead. Give that position back. We are under safety car conditions and cannot overtake. Return the position. Okay, you may overtake the car ahead. Pass the car ahead. Return the position. position immediately or we will be penalised. There is no overtaking during the safety car period.
So, as you can see there, that was my frustration for the entire safety car period. Both of the Sauers, for some reason, just going side by side for the entire thing. I don't know if they were, like, having to let each other go through, and then they kept getting illegal overtakes or whatever, but Jeff was telling me to overtake. I overtaked, and then it was an illegal overtake, had to let them go back through again. So that was really, really annoying over the course of that. And Jeff would not shut up about it. In theory, I thought I should have just told him to shut up. That would have been the best option, but as we get ready to rejoin in the action now in lap 30, you can see the rain is really starting to set in now, and it looks very, very tempting to dive in now for a set of intermediate tyres, but given where we are in the championship, how close we are to the end of this Grand Prix, I'm only going to react to what the leaders do, depending on how heavy the rain gets. I will admit, like, if it does get really heavy and the AI don't dive in, then maybe we might think about a change to the intermediate tyres. We'd have to make up a lot of ground, overtake a lot of cars, and getting back to our original position would be very hard. But as we rejoin in the race once again, we pretty much smashed past both the Saubers. That was pretty easy. But Kimi Raikkonen rejoined behind Lewis Hamilton after his final stop, and now he's pretty much got a clear run of that straight back into the lead after like the first lap of green flag racing, and that was Lewis Hamilton's race, just pretty much KO'd, and he had nothing to fight with on old medium tyres. You know, Kimi Raikkonen on fresh supers. You know, it's pretty obvious who's going to win out on that kind of battle, but that also helps Sebastian Vettel as well, who recently stopped onto his supers. Like I said, I didn't foresee Sebastian coming back and challenging us, but now with his safety car, it's really changed the game now, and he's, I think, putting pressure on you know, the Force India guys, and also Fernando Alonso, who's only a couple of positions back. That's Kimi Raikkonen winning the Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton coming home in second. Again, I didn't have the pace to challenge those guys, and really it was just a really massive cruise home to third place and another podium in Season 3.
Great drive, great drive. We're really happy with that performance.
So, here they come now, out onto the podium. Wherever you go, anywhere in the world, the prancing horse flags are dominant in the grandstands, and they're out in force again today. It's Ferrari on the top step once more.
So there we go then. Kimi Raikkonen wins the Grand Prix. You know, for me personally, that race, it was pretty boring. Like, I got into third place, you know, straight away in the race, and I was really trying hard to chase down the leaders. Didn't have the pace, and I was really just stuck in no man's land for the entire Grand Prix. I mean, the battles with, I think, Sebastian and Bottas livened things up a little bit, and I was hoping the safety car would provide some added entertainment for me personally, trying to kind of redeem myself and getting the race win, but in the end, we just didn't have the pace, which was pretty frustrating. But overall, I can't really complain because, like I said, like the whole weekend we were struggling. We were slower than Fernando the whole weekend, and in the end, we come away with a podium. And we lose some points to Kimi in the championship, but overall, we only lose 10 points. So, I mean, bit of damage limitation. Again, we finished on the podium, which is nice. Fernando got a solid bag of points as well, finishing P6. Moves up to 11th in the driver's standing. So, hopefully for the rest of the season, he can continue this like form that he's got going at the moment, and potentially climb his way into the top 10 of the driver's standings. I'll do, you know, my absolute best to try and help him in terms of like resource points and upgrades and all that. And it looks like we might, in the end, be able to upgrade the ultimate drag reduction component of the car, and that's only 1,400 resource points, which we've only just managed to tick over. So we're going to do that now, apply that to the car. Unfortunately, with the ultimate upgrades, it takes 6 weeks to go on the car. Unfortunately, we haven't got that final competency, which shortens it down to 3 weeks, so we're going to have to wait till the US Grand Prix before that goes on the car, so a really long time, towards the end of the season. But, you know, if we are in trouble when it comes to, like, points versus Raikkonen, then that'll definitely boost us in potentially being the fastest car. We'll have to wait and see. We will continue to do the other aero upgrades, like front and rear downforce in the meantime, and maybe one more chassis upgrade. But apart from that, that is pretty much going to be the schedule when it comes to upgrades. I was thinking about maybe doing some durability ones, like for the ICE or maybe even the turbocharger, but we're gunning for the championship. Like, we need performance, and we can just take an extra, you know, power unit component or two, start from the back, and just use our pace to get back on the podium. I think that's probably the best strategy that we have of you know, damage limitation and, you know, getting points in this championship. But that's it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Sorry there wasn't, you know, that much action. You know, I did my best. I think it was just a really big sweat fest, like a league race essentially, just trying to maintain my pace, and everyone else was fairly similar in pace as well. But we're off to the Belgian Grand Prix next, and we might be taking a grid penalty there and starting from the back, so it could be a potentially really exciting Grand Prix, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you're new, to see plenty more F1 2017 videos, and until the next one, I'll see you next time.